Hello and welcome to the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today's Thursday, May 18th, 2023. So for the third consecutive day, business day, we've closed above $1 a share. And in fact, it looks as if though we closed to the upside. So that's a really positive development. Now, I have a little bit of something to share here. And I want to get your input as to whether or not you think I'm kind of on the right track here. So let's see if we can pull up together slide number 1 here. This is going to be from, if you go back to the March 2023 investor presentation, this is going to be on page 4. And so you'll see it says building blocks to growing equity value. And what I want to specifically do is draw your attention to the sort of like second zone there. And I have this highlighted. Where it says eliminated largest payable in exchange for some subordinated note and 3 million warrants, basically the B&M settlement. Okay. Now, it's in this very same investor presentation a little bit later on. I believe this is going to be slide 3 if I can find it, and I apologize ahead of time for the slightly clumsy way in which I sometimes put these things together, but I'm doing my best to kind of have this be somewhat informative and based in fact, right? And just showing you what I'm looking at. So it turns out, so slide 4, this is page 9, and let's take a more careful look with the arrow that should show up right now. It says, and this is the same presentation in which that B&M settlement's mentioned. It now says on page 9, guidance excludes approximately 1 exahash of upside related to approximately 25 megawatts of owned end-to-end data center infrastructure currently in inventory waiting to be deployed. Okay, now let's pull up what I believe is going to be slide number 5. This is from our actual 10K. Pardon me, and it says, you'd have to do a text search to find this. But basically, this has to do with the B&M settlement. And if you look specifically at the area that's highlighted, it says, basically, pursuant to the settlement agreement, B&M released 10 3,000 kVA transformers to the company and fully canceled 90 transformers remaining under a pre-existing order with a third-party supplier. So on and so forth. I want to draw your attention to the 10 3,000 kVA transformers. That I think is interesting because if I did the calculation correctly, 3,000 kVAs times 10, right? So you'd basically have 30,000 kVAs. That roughly translates to 30 megawatts. I know there are some of you potentially watching this who have much more experience with electrical engineering type matters, so please correct me if I'm off with this, but I believe it roughly translates to about 30 megawatts, which of course you wouldn't necessarily want to maybe tax the equipment to the point of using all 30 megawatts, which if we think back to that slide presentation where it says approximately 25 megawatts of end-to-end data center infrastructure, I think it has to do with these transformers. Now let's play a short snippet, and this is from the original Stronghold Digital Mining promotional video, which is floating around YouTube. This is a very short clip. Let's go ahead and play this together, and let's sort of take this all in here. Okay, here it goes.
We worked with B&M to design and build our own mobile data centers.
Okay, now specifically, take a look at this. I'm zooming in. Is this what we have? Do we have, say, 10 of those green boxes? And, do we have then obviously the rest of that type of container? Okay, come back to me now. So, do you see where I'm going with this? Do we have, I think that green box might be what's considered a step-down transformer. And again, I'm going to rely upon those of you who are have much more expertise with regard to electrical engineering type matters to maybe help educate me about this. But I think based on my research, I think this would be considered like a mid-level transformer. And so I'm just wondering, hey, so do we have basically 10 of those green boxes, which would correspond with, I guess, 10 actual containers in which Bitcoin mining machines would be located? And then if those in fact are step-down transformers, does that mean that this 1 exahash of potential Bitcoin mining capacity that we have, proverbially speaking, just like laying on the floor that, we're looking to pick up, right? And make use of, would something like this, if let's say hypothetically, we were to strike a deal with, say, another waste coal power plant, perhaps even the third plant, which kind of snuck away from us, right? In our original IPO documentation, there had been a lot of talk about acquiring a third power plant. It was under a letter of intent. It kind of fell through as a result of the Bitcoin ecosystem and the whole market kind of going into a winter mode. But I wonder, is it the kind of thing where we could literally say, hey, we have the step-down transformers through which we could essentially route the, really, really obviously, much higher voltage electricity that's being generated at a power plant and step it down to be used at this little micro data center, which would basically have about 1 exahash of mining capacity. Again, I haven't done enough research to really say with any specificity if I'm sort of maybe laying out something that has merit, or if I'm sort of like completely delusional insofar as what I'm describing. But I think this is something that I'm interested in because, what if then we could, before doing anything, what if we were even to then lock in another one of these hybrid hosting arrangements, say with a Canaan, or maybe a Foundry, or maybe some other company, where they would provide, right, the Bitcoin mining machines, and we could somehow structure something so that the power plant where our equipment, right, our data center infrastructure equipment is being located, somehow, there could be a win for them. There could be a win for us, right, as Stronghold Digital Mining, and there could be a win for a company that has a bunch of Bitcoin mining machines that they really want to plug in, but maybe they're struggling to figure out where to do so, or they're just not aware of any options that they may have to do so in a sort of turnkey manner. Obviously, there's a lot of detail to this, right, that would need to sort of be ironed out. But I'm just independently here trying to kind of better understand what exactly do we have. I mean, do we have equipment that we could, quite literally show up at a power plant and say, hey, all we really need is somehow like a wire to go to our step-down transformers, and we can then power, these data centers. Obviously, there's a little bit more to it than that, but is that generally what we're talking about? Because I do think there could be an opportunity here to, in a very capital efficient manner, pick up some additional revenue without necessarily having to, to deploy tons and tons of capital that obviously at this juncture we're not really in a position to do, and maybe bring some partners on board in a way that's, again, it's a win for all of us, really. So I don't know. What do you think? Those of you who may have a little bit more experience with this, maybe have a little bit more of an understanding of kind of like what the reality is, feel free to post something in comments or, on Twitter. I'm really curious about this. So, and I'd love to see this data center infrastructure that we have be used, because I think that could be a really cool thing. And I'm just looking, this is just me, but I'm like, hey, if this is really like plug-in ready, so to speak, there's a waste coal plant within bicycle distance from where I'm quite literally creating this video. And I don't know that there's any Bitcoin mining going on there. And I do know that, given the fact grid prices have been quite depressed, that the potential exists for, a waste coal facility like that to maybe see some value in being able to pick up some additional revenue as a result of, having that alternative right, to sell power, so to speak, or to use the electricity that's being generated, or at least, roughly 25 to 30 megawatts of it to do this, right, to do Bitcoin versus, hey, we have to just power down because there's no grid, right? There's no grid pricing that really makes sense for us to sell into. Anyway, okay. Let's stay positive. Let's be great. Day 3, I think we're going in the right direction at this point. Again, there's no guarantees. All right, we need to do this for like how many more days now? 7 more days. So yeah, okay. Be positive, be great, and we'll see you tomorrow.